Hi, friends. It's Jen Yaeger with the Teaching and Learning Alliance again. It has been a long time since I posted something new to my YouTube channel to help those of you who are preparing for the Foundations of Reading certification tests in your state, the one created by Pearson. In some states, it's known as the number 190. And in Massachusetts, for example, it's called the MTEL Foundations of Reading test. In Wisconsin, it's known as the FORT. It's the same test in many states known by Pearson as the number 190 Foundations of Reading test. And it includes, in addition to 100 multiple choice questions, 2 open response questions. One of those 2 open response questions relates to foundational reading skills, and it's assessed through an oral reading analysis. I have a new strategy to share with you today to help you feel more confident and grounded and strategic as you analyze that oral reading analysis so that you can kind of hit the ground running with your open response. So let me share that with you. And the document to download will be in the comments below. Okay. So first things first, this is an example of an oral reading analysis. On the test, you will see something that looks something like this. This is one I just created, but it will have a key that shows you what the teacher's marks mean and what they indicate. You will see a text that is most likely probably for a 3rd grade student. It typically is for an upper grade student around 3rd grade, but can't guarantee. And then you will see above the typed text, you will see teacher's notes. Those teacher's notes help you understand students' strengths and strategies as they approach unfamiliar words, as well as weaknesses as they approach unfamiliar words. Another piece of the oral reading analysis that's really helpful is really noticing the features of the words where there are no teacher's marks, where there's no miscues or deviations from the print. So you will want to take a close look both at where there are miscues or deviations, where there's mistakes, as well as places where there aren't any mistakes. Okay, so with that in mind, that's the oral reading analysis, just a quick snippet of what that looks like. Let me show you my suggested strategy for approaching this part of the test. So here's the tip sheet that I've created that you can download from the comments below. And what you'll see is that I have included the sample language that came from the release practice test. While I cannot guarantee it will be the same, this is very similar to the original version of the open response question for this portion of the test, but with some changes. So I think that there's a good chance it will look just like this, but again, can't guarantee anything. What it will likely say is, using your knowledge of foundational reading skills, and then in parentheses, it gives you examples of those foundational reading skills: phonemic awareness, phonics, recognition of high frequency words, syllabication, morphemic analysis, automaticity, reading fluency, which includes accuracy, rate, and prosody, and self-corrections. It then asks you to write a response of approximately 150 to 300 words in which you identify one significant strength, one significant need, describe an appropriate instructional strategy, activity, or intervention, and then explain why that strategy, activity, or intervention would be effective for the student. You don't have a lot of words, so space to write your response. So you need to also be very strategic, and every word needs to be meaningful. You don't want to BS your way through this. You want to be strategic with every word. So with that in mind, I suggest you rely on the clues and tips they give you right there in the question to help you prepare for the answer and help you prepare for your analysis first. When you see in parentheses the names of these foundational reading skills, such as phonemic awareness, phonics, and so on, you can use that list to create a table where you analyze both words where there's some deviation from the print, some substitution or mistake, meaning all the same thing, or words where there is no deviation from the print, where they just read that word automatically. So notice here again, it says phonemic awareness, phonics, recognition of high frequency words, and so on. I suggest you make a table that looks like this. Put those foundational reading skills across the top of your table. So write phonemic awareness, use of phonics. You will see, instead of syllabication, morphemic analysis in their own column, I put them under the header of analysis of word structure, which encompasses both. Then high frequency words, fluency, which includes automaticity, accuracy, pace, and so on. and then self-corrections. In the sheet that I have that you can access and download, I do give you a little bit of information about what each of those things entails and what you should observe. And then what I suggest you do is in your table, under each of those columns, you can then start to categorize words where there's no errors and words where there are. Now, related to phonemic awareness, one of the ways that you would know that the child is struggling with phonemic awareness, and I'm just going to make this a little bigger because this font is small. If the child reads words like bird as brid, or form as from, or slip as silk, they are not reading the sequence of letters methodically or accurately. And that might be an indication of a weakness in a foundational skill, which is phonemic awareness. Being able to hear and manipulate each individual sound in a word then later contributes to being able to read those words accurately in order from left to right in a proper sequence. So if you see an error such as this, brid over bird, the word brid means the way that it was pronounced, and the word in the text is bird, that may indicate a weakness in phonemic awareness. I suspect that it's harder to find a strength in phonemic awareness that you can confidently write about in your response. So I would be looking to see if there's any errors such as this, which would indicate a weakness. So we'll get to weaknesses below here in a moment. You'll see I have a row for strengths and a row for weaknesses. But under phonemic awareness, it's not my recommendation that you speak to a strength in phonemic awareness. It would be harder to articulate, but instead you may notice where there is a weakness. Use of phonics, you can look for words with which the child had no trouble decoding, or where there's no pauses or no sounding out, but they knew it automatically. And that would indicate, according to the criteria that Pearson has shared, that you can assume some knowledge around the features within those words. So what I mean is, if there's a strength in the use of phonics, you could look for the features in a number of words with which the child had no difficulty. So for example, let's say the passage had words such as water, never, and arms, and the child had no pauses or errors or sounding out of those words. You could say that the child has a strength in reading words containing R-controlled vowels. R-controlled would be ER and AR here. Those are just two examples of R-controlled vowels. You could say, if they read the words beach and path correctly, that the child has strength in decoding words with consonant digraphs. If they read the words like James, raced, or before correctly, you could say that the child has strength in reading words with silent E. So this would be a way to look at the features of words with which there's no error, and name a strength in the use of phonics. It also could be that the child does break apart a word into syllables and then sounds out correctly each individual syllable, or sounds out an unfamiliar word, but they do that accurately and successfully. You could look at what are the features within those words that show a strength in phonics. If the strength is in analysis of word structure, you could look for both syllabication, breaking apart a word such as spaghetti into its parts, or morphemic analysis, breaking apart words that have meaning-bearing parts, such as a word like bicentennial or pedestrian. They may not divide up that word by each individual syllable, but they are looking at the meaningful parts, including words like discussing that has an inflectional ending. So that suffix also is a meaning-bearing part, and that would relate to morphemic analysis. So here's examples of strength in both. If the child shows that they can automatically pronounce, read high-frequency words, that would be another strength. So you can see I might capture and name a number of the high-frequency words from the passage that the child did not have any trouble with. There are often exhibits that follow the oral reading analysis, such as a rubric for fluency. You can see if there's strength related to that. And also, strength and self-correction would show you that the child is correcting based on homographs, words that are spelled the same but have different pronunciations. So for example, if the child said, after the concert I took a bow, that would be pronounced correctly, but it's not pronounced correctly in this context. They went back and corrected that to say bow. That would be correct. Or the child might say, I read so many books last winter. Oops, that doesn't sound right syntactically. That homograph needs to be changed to read, the past tense of read. So that would be a strength. So you'll see that I have shown you how you can make a chart by naming the skill across the top, examples of strengths underneath, and then you could do the same thing to look at places where the errors in the passage are a weakness, but by categorizing it under one of these categories again. So again, a weakness in phonemic awareness might look something like this. Instead of scratch, they said it this way, or flipped, they said filped. So that might indicate a weakness in phonemic awareness. Or if they read the word ran instead of rain, or 10 instead of team, or 2 instead of toy, that would show you a weakness in reading vowel teams or diphthongs. If there's a weakness in analysis of word structure, the child is not breaking apart words into their meaning-bearing parts or by syllable. If there is a weakness in high-frequency words, they're not recognizing those words that just need to be known automatically because they come up so often in children's reading and writing. So if you see weakness in that, in words such as a mistake with because or through, that would indicate a weakness in high-frequency words. Perhaps their fluency rubric shows a weakness in words correct per minute, which you will have enough information to determine that. Or perhaps their expression or phrasing shows a weakness. You could relate to that. And finally, a child who is over self-correcting, using context rather than the code of the English language to determine an unfamiliar word, would have a weakness in the overuse of self-corrections. I hope you found this tip helpful. And if you are working at a higher ed institution and are interested to see how we could work as partners in supporting your students in this work, we are currently working alongside multiple organizations and higher ed institutions and beginning to form a consortium of those organizations as they support students in foundations of reading preparation. But if you're an individual looking for additional support as you prepare for the test, just know that we also have a video module series with over 12 video modules from short to more full length, a study guide that we mail to you at your home, self-assessment quizzes, which mirror the language and format of questions on the test and on the released from the practice test, and explanations. You can also contact us directly if you have additional questions or interested to learn more about our offerings at teachinglearningalliance.org. Or at any of our other social media handles. If you are interested in the video module series and want the direct registration link, you will find that in the description below. Good luck. Thanks so much for being here with me today.